All right, thank you everyone. I'll get us all started. I always comment on the size of the gallery, but it's particularly big today, so thank you all for coming along. It's really wonderful to see people showing up here. Members of the public are advised that the meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the live stream recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. I'll start with an acknowledgement of country. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located, and we value the significance of the Wurundjeri people's history as essential to the unique character of the Shire. We pay tribute to all First Nations people living in Nillumbik, give our respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. We respect the enduring strength of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and acknowledge the ongoing impact of past trauma and injustices from European invasion, massacres and genocide committed against First Nations people. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people hold a deep and ongoing connection to this place. We value the distinctive place of our First Nations people in both Nillumbik and Australia's identity, from their cultural heritage and care of the land and waterways, to their ongoing contributions in many fields, including academia, agriculture, art, economics, law, sport and politics. And now Councillor Duffy will read out the Good Governance Pledge.
Thank you. As councillors, we are mindful of our civic responsibilities and obligations. We pledge to take them seriously and to carry them out with diligence and integrity. We know the decisions we take will affect the people and environment of Nillumbik now and in the future. We undertake, therefore, to make sound and principled decisions of lasting value in a spirit of fairness and for the good of all. We also pledge to serve the needs and well-being of the community and the environment in an open and honest manner and to the best of our abilities.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. We did have a prayer reader booked tonight, Pulin Amin from BAPS Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Mill Park, which is a Hindu church. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us tonight, so here's an apology, but we have booked him for sometime next year, so looking forward to having him attend then. So I'll move us on. There are no apologies. And are there any conflicts of interest, councillors? No conflicts of interest. The next item is presentations, and we've got some very exciting presentations tonight. And so we're going to start off with the CFA Appreciation Awards. So I'd like to welcome the huge number of representatives and volunteers from our brigades and groups across Nillumbik. We know that with the arrival of warmer weather and an El Nino weather event this year, it's so important to prepare for the possibility of bushfire and to have a plan for emergencies. Living in such a beautiful environment is a privilege, but for that privilege, we accept a very increased level of risk. Council is committed to working with our CFA and our emergency services personnel, doing what you do best to protect lives and property. Volunteers are the backbone of our community, and particularly with the exceptional number of CFA volunteers and the exceptional work that you do in our community, we are incredibly grateful. As we enter another bushfire season, on behalf of Nillumbik Shire Council, I'd like to acknowledge and thank all of you for this selfless and important work that you do. It's important to remember that mitigation of fire risk is a critical component of fire season preparedness, and via your many community education initiatives, we're able to help the community to do that. Mitigation must be a responsibility that's shared by the entire community. Preparing for and responding to emergencies is a year-round activity. Council is committed to working with the CFA and our other partner agencies to ensure that our fire and emergency management arrangements meet the needs of our community. On behalf of my fellow councillors and council staff, I'm delighted to be providing $49,000 today in donations to assist our 16 brigades and 2 groups for the exceptional work that they do for us. We wish all of our emergency services first responders well as we head into summer. And as you'd all agree, we hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And so I'd now like to present you all with your certificates. We will be starting off with Doreen Fire Brigade, and Councillor Egan will be presenting the certificate for them. So I'd like to invite Dave Slattery, the Community Safety Coordinator, up to the front. Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'd now like to invite Research Fire Brigade to the front. Do we have anyone here from Research Fire Brigade? Well, we will make sure they receive their certificate and their cheque. Very important. And Captain Warren Rees from Arthurs Creek Fire Brigade. Captain Michael Scroggy from Christmas Hills Fire Brigade. And next we have Captain Noel Farmer from Diamond Creek Fire Brigade. And for Eltham Fire Brigade, we have Secretary Lizzie Wade and First Lieutenant Anthony Owen. And from Hurstbridge Fire Brigade, we have Group Officer Matthew Knight. From Kangaroo Ground Fire Brigade, we have First Lieutenant Chris Fiddler. From Kinglake Fire Brigade, we have First Lieutenant Paul Buck. From North Warrandyte Fire Brigade, we have Captain Trent Burris. Panton Hill Fire Brigade, we have Captain Simon Wallace. From Plenty Fire Brigade, we have Captain Dave Rumble. From St Andrews Fire Brigade, we have Captain Matthew Ryan. From Wattle Glen Fire Brigade, we have 4th Lieutenant Phil Miles. From Whittlesea Diamond Valley Fire Brigades Group, we have Secretary Heather Scale. And from the Nillumbik Group of Fire Brigades, we have Group Officer Matthew Knight. And I'll just allow Matthew Knight to say a few words for us.
Thank you tonight, Ben, and to Council. On behalf of the 16 brigades and groups that receive the money, it does go a long way and it doesn't go unnoticed. So we really appreciate the work that Council do. And we also appreciate the work that Council do working in amongst the fire brigades and the group, the two groups, with their fire prevention works. So thanks very much. It's a real honour to be here and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matthew, for those kind words, and a huge thank you to all the brigades and all the volunteers for everything that you do for our community. So we'll just do a group photo, which is always a bit of a logistical challenge, but I'll come up the front with the Deputy Mayor and we'll get Tracy to take a photo for us. It's always the highlight of one of the highlights of the year to be handing out grants to the people who keep us safe. But we've got more grants to be handing out. The next presentation is our Sporting Achievement Grants. And so I'll invite you each up one by one to receive your grant. And we will start off with Shayla Stickland from Ellis Ward, which will be presented by Councillor Perkins.
So unfortunately, Shayla can't make it tonight. Her grandfather actually advised me last night there was a bit of a mix-up with the dates. She was advised that it was going to be tomorrow night, and then office got back to her and told her it was tonight, but she's got a medical appointment tonight, so can't make it. But I'll read what I've got. Shayla Strickland, Alice Ward, receives $250 as a contribution for being selected to represent Victoria at the Australian Volleyball School Cup in Queensland. Shayla attends Eltham High School in Year 9 and qualified to be part of the school volleyball team. Her team has competed in state-level competitions throughout the year and have qualified for the Australian Volleyball Schools Cup. The team also qualified for this event in 2022, placing 4th, and that was the highest placing for any non-Queensland team. We wish Shayla the very best for her future sporting pursuits. So I can pass that on to her grandfather, which will make sure that she gets that, so I'll keep that one. So congratulations, Shayla.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. The next award is for the Eltham High School volleyball team, which will be presented by Councillor Payne. So I'll invite the Eltham High School volleyball team up to the front if they've got anyone.
We've got a couple of representatives of Eltham High making their way up to the podium. I'd like to keep going the congratulations for Eltham High particularly and its volleyball team. We have a contribution of $500 for being selected to represent Victoria at the Australian Volleyball Cup, School Cup in Queensland. I've got a long and strong history with Eltham High and volleyball. My daughter went from Eltham High to the Australian junior team to playing in the USA for college and then to the Australian women's team. So Eltham High's got a long, strong history of volleyball. Well done. And congratulations. Here is your award. And you get $500. It's not there, but we're good for it. So that will get to the school. Do you want to say something at all?
I'd just like to start off by saying, on behalf of Eltham High, we'd like to say thank you to the council who have generously organised this grant. The money will be going towards our Queensland trip, where a few of our teams will be competing to get gold at a national volleyball tournament. Each team has worked hard to qualify into the division throughout the year, and we're hoping we can finish the year strong representing our volleyball program at Eltham High School. The grant will help us cut funds toward this trip as it is not cheap. With the council's grant, it allows us to make many memories that we'll keep for the rest of our lives and hopefully bring back a gold medal to Nillumbik. Thank you.
Thank you to the Eltham High School volleyball team. And now we have Marcus Karua from Blue Lake Ward, and Councillor Stockman will present that one for us.
Just like to say Marcus Karua, he's going to receive today $250 as a contribution for being selected to represent Australia in archery and at the World Uni Games in China. Marcus has been participating in archery for 15 years and represented Australia at an international level at a World Cup in Korea. He came 9th in the Indoor World Cup final in 2020 and came 3rd at the National Championship in 2022. He's won multiple state and national events. We wish Marcus the very best for his future and his sporting pursuits. Thank you, Marcus. Would you like to say something? I'd say Marcus, are you still the president? Diamond Valley Archers? Okay.
Thank you very much for the grant from the council and everything. It helps me immensely to travel to the tournaments and everything, because archery is not a funded sport. We have to pay for ourselves. So all contributions help immensely, especially for my goal to go to the Olympics next year. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marcus, and thank you, Councillor Stockman. And finally, we have Mitchell Ayton from Edendale Ward, which will be presented by Councillor Duffy.
Now, I'm just going to read out some information. Congratulations, Mitchell. Mitchell's going to receive $250 as a contribution for being selected to represent Victoria at the International Tennis Federation in Queensland. Mitchell's a member of the Eltham Tennis Club, which is a great tennis club to join, and previously attended the Diamond Valley Secondary College in Diamond Creek. Mitchell also plays a doubles final at the 2023 Darwin Open and another doubles final at the 2023 Eden Park Open. Well done. And he's played in 3 consecutive singles quarterfinals in July 2022 and has made the semi-finals in Grade 2 of Tennis Pennant Victoria 2022. Mitchell, we wish you all the best in your pursuits and good luck in Queensland. There we go. No, it's written here. It says Victoria on the information that I'm given. Does it? Oh, so Mitchell, how about you come and say a few words, and you can let us know whether that's representing Victoria or Australia. I'm really curious to hear some more.
Yes, I will be representing Australia in Cairns. Yeah. But I do appreciate this grant because it goes a long way in accommodation cost, rackets, everything. So yeah, I do appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitchell, and thank you, Councillor Duffy. And on behalf of Nillumbik Shire Council, I'd like to wish all of you the best with your future sporting pursuits. Moving on, we have confirmation of minutes next, so I will look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move that, Mayor Ancharam. The Council confirms the minutes of the Council meeting held on Tuesday, 24th of October 2023, as per Attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to second, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is petitions, and Council has received a petition titled No Hospital in Ryans Road, Diamond Creek. So I'll look for a mover. Councillor Duffy.
I'm happy to move that as it's in my ward. So the petition, the recommendation is that Council receives and notes the No Hospital in Ryans Road, Diamond Creek petition relating to the proposed construction of a hospital at 405 Ryans Road, Diamond Creek, in accordance with the governance rules of meeting procedures. That we refer the petition to the Director of Planning, Environment and Strategy for investigation and response, and also notes that the officers will advise the petition organiser of the outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I always appreciate when people put effort into petitions to council so that we can know how they feel about matters, no matter how big or small. It's really important that we hear from people and that they have a say and that they're able to let council know how they really feel about what we are doing or what is happening in our shire. So the community will recall that the Victorian Hospital Building Authority had previously announced their selection of building the Eltham Area Hospital on council land nearby in the car park area of this civic precinct here in Greensborough. For the multitude of benefits a community hospital would bring to the people of Nillumbik and neighbouring Banyule, I supported the sale of this council land for a community hospital at that site, including that council would receive funds from the sale. Some Apollo Parkway's residents disapproved of the hospital site when it was proposed to be built on the land nearby the council office here. Now, I acknowledge this petition, and it contains 1,007 signatures. That's a lot of people saying no to a community hospital located at this address, 405 Ryans Road, Diamond Creek. And I've read all the details. I empathise with their views to protect local wildlife, and I've walked around this area with some of the residents who've signed the petition, hearing their concerns. It's generally observed that most residents will oppose the building of a hospital in their neighbourhood. Having recently undergone breast cancer treatment along with a number of other local women and having to travel for treatment, I support the construction of a local community hospital that proposes to provide chemotherapy, dialysis, mental health services, amongst other. The land at 405 Ryans Road, Diamond Creek is, however, owned by the Victorian Government, and as such, they can build a hospital there if they want to. Council has and will continue to advocate for the best outcomes for the community in decisions in and outside of our control, as we've been doing to date regarding this site at 405 Diamond Creek Road, regarding traffic, pedestrian safety and other things. So I don't know what's going to happen with the hospital, but I do empathise with the people who've put their petition forward, and I'm happy to accept that on behalf of council.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Eyre?
Thank you. I acknowledge everything that Councillor Duffy has said. I'll just add that this is not council land. Council does not have a decision on how the land is used, but that council will continue to advocate, as Councillor Duffy said, for paths, parking and traffic as part of what we can hope to get the hospital board to adhere to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I think just to note for clarity and to reiterate what Councillor Duffy and Councillor Eyre said, we don't have a position on the placement of the hospital. That's not our role as a council. We don't have any say over this particular site, and so it is entirely a decision for the state government, but we are working on advocacy to improve the outcomes for the community once the hospital is built, and working towards the best possible community outcome. And so we're happy to accept the petition and note it, but in terms of taking a position, council does not have a position on the location, but we will always work our hardest for those residents to advocate for the best outcomes for them. And so I will put that one to a vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is questions from the gallery. Our first question is from Liesl Schnuckel, who I can see in the audience with us tonight. And Liesl has asked, the state government is proposing to exclude Nillumbik and other peri-urban areas from the kangaroo harvesting program in 2025, thereby ensuring the protection of Nillumbik's kangaroos. Will Nillumbik Council now listen to its community and actively support this protection? And the response is, at its council meeting on the 26th of September 2023, a notice of motion was moved that Council A notes community concern regarding the cruelty involved in the kangaroo harvesting program run by the state government, and B requests that officers brief council on the program and potential advocacy to the state government in October 2023. Subsequently, at the council meeting on the 24th of October 2023, council formally received a petition in two parts containing 13,956 signatures calling on the state government to remove Nillumbik from the kangaroo harvesting program. Council, in accordance with the notice of motion of the 26th of September council meeting, was subsequently briefed at its 31st of October meeting on the topic of the kangaroo harvesting program, noting the matter and a series of options would be brought to council at its next available meeting in November. Notably, within the last week, the 2024 to 2028 kangaroo harvesting program management plan has been released by DECA, which excludes Nillumbik starting from 2025 from the program until 2028, which is the next review. As per decision programming, the matter is being presented to council tonight for consideration of options and decision. We have a question from John Facondo. Is John Facondo with us tonight? All right, I will read out the question. So John has asked, I refer to item 13 in tonight's agenda in relation to the Arbiter's report. What was the total cost incurred by council for this investigation and subsequent reporting process in terms of A, actual dollars spent, and B, the number of person hours involved by relevant Nillumbik Shire Council staff? And the response is, the total cost of the internal arbitration application process is $7,318.90. This consists of the arbiter's sitting fees and transcription services. No other fees or costs were incurred in relation to this matter. Officers acted in line with the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020, adhering to the prescribed process. Therefore, there is no requirement to calculate or record officer time, and no in-kind help was received throughout the process. And that is it for questions from the gallery. And so I will move us on to reports of advisory committees, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. That council notes the minutes of advisory committee meetings reported in attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Only to say that we've had three advisory committee meetings in the last council meeting for the last month, and again doing wonderful work for our community. We had the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee, the Environment and Sustainable Advisory Committee, and the Living and Learning Nillumbik Advisory Committee, and I'm pleased to say that I'm on 2 of the 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Which moves us on to officers' reports, and the first report is the Council Plan Quarterly Performance Report 2023 to 2024 for Quarter 1. And I'll look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that Council receives and notes the Council Plan Quarterly Performance Report as per Attachment 1 for the first quarter of 23-24.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
So just quickly, we routinely receive these quarterly reports, and demonstrates how the Council Plan 2021 to 25 has been delivered on behalf of the community. So the Council Plan Quarterly Performance Report provides the first update on delivery, progress and performance for the 23-24 annual plan actions, which align to delivery of the third year of the Council Plan 2021 to 25. Of 37 actions in the 23 to 24 annual action plan, 17 of those actions are reported quarterly, with the remaining actions reported on an annual basis. That was Corinne just leaving the room. She'll take that call. Wasn't Corinne? Coral. Sorry, Coral. Yeah, I got my... Anyway, back to this. So of the 37 actions in the 23-24 action plan, 17 of those actions are reported quarterly, with the remaining actions reported on an annual basis in the final quarterly report for the financial year. At present, of the 17 quarterly reporting actions, 13 are on track, 2 actions are experiencing minor issues, and 2 actions are yet to commence. So the overall position reflected in the report suggests that Council continues to make solid progress on delivering on key actions of the Council Plan and significant outcomes for the community. So the rest of the report there is, and the report on the Council Plan is also there. Councillors, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I'd just like to say quickly that it's pleasing to see the traction on Council's Climate Action Plan regarding a roadmap to achieve net zero greenhouse emissions for Council by 2030 and the community by 2035. I'm excited with the concept to establish a climate action hub at Edendale Farm, our fantastic community environment farm and Indigenous nursery, which is free to the community and visitors, and that the community have been able to provide some feedback on that concept.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Which moves us on to the September 2023 quarterly financial report, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move the motion that Council receives and notes the financial report for the period ended 30th September 2023 as per Attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Payne.
Just to reiterate that Council's overall financial position at the end of this quarter is sound, and that's exactly what we want to hear every quarter.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Perkins.
I might just read out some of the other stats. We've got a favourable year-to-date variance of 413,125, and that represents 0.59% of the year-to-date budget. So it reflects the combined result of higher than budgeted operating income of $558,983 and higher than budgeted operating expenses of $145,858. Just the overall variances, just for interest, income has been a favourable variance of 0.59%. Expenditure has been unfavourable of 0.56%, So there's been some ups and downs, but the net result is strong, as Councillor Payne has indicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. It's wonderful to have so many people in the gallery, but it would be great if you could all have your phones on silent. It is a bit distracting to have them ringing while people are talking. Any other councillors? All right, I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the Bushfire Mitigation Strategy Final Report. And I will look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
I move that Council notes the successful conclusion of the Bushfire Mitigation Strategy 2019 to 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor
Happy
Egan.
to second.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
So into the last council of which I was on and Councillor Egan was also on, that council adopted the Bushfire Mitigation Strategy for that 4-year period, 2019-2023. It has been a great success. All of the recommendations contained in that strategy have been implemented by council over that 4 years, and they now represent business as usual. They're embedded into the Municipal Emergency Management Plan and the Fire Management Plan. The report speaks for itself. There's been a lot of good work done over the last 4 years that are tied to this strategy, so I think I'd like to congratulate officers and the work that community continues to do with council to make a safer Nillumbik. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
I fully support everything Councillor Perkins has said. We are very lucky to be able to have Craig Lapsley help us with our original strategy, and I'm very proud to say that I was a part of that. And it's great to see the outcomes that we've ended up with. You can see by the report how much we've received to date in funding. It's a little bit over, or nearly 1.2 million. Lots of programs, especially out in my and Councillor Ramcharan's area. A lot of programs about resilience and how to manage the aftermath, but obviously this is a mitigation strategy, so we don't want them to actually happen, but it is a matter of when, not if. So to have some of those programs in place has made a massive difference to the local communities of which we're a part, so really, really pleased to see the stats on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy?
Yes, I'd just like to say that, you know, bushfire mitigation is so important, and what comes home to me is the feeling of fear that comes with fire. And when I first moved into Nillumbik, it was Christmas of 2008. So the bushfires of 2009 were very much my introduction to Nillumbik. And, you know, since that time, I have met many people that were involved in that, school teachers of my children, family, friends, and you are really hit hard in the heart by what has happened. We've seen tonight the valiant volunteers from our CFA who put themselves on the line to help our community. So it is right for council to have a robust bushfire mitigation strategy. I'm pleased that my father's here today in the gallery. He's a volunteer with the Rural Fire Service in New South Wales. So to all of these people, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the contribution that you make to our community effort, because this is not just an action of council. This is something that we all need to work together for. And we've seen so much in what's happened across the country in the last few summers and across the world as our climate changes. So I hope that this summer we will be able to weather the storm that's coming.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the reconciliation of special charge schemes for De Fredericks Road, Yarrambat and Rockcliffe Street, Eltham, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Stockman.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to
Payne.
second.
Councillor Stockman.
Thank you. As councillors, we often deliver bad news. There's processes that happen in place, and we have a lot of expertise in our offices to tell people what those processes are, and we keep that transparent. This one here, I'm happy to say, is some good news. So the actual special charge scheme, the costs that came through and the actual costs differed, so there was some money returned back to residents for it.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. Councillor Payne?
Yes, it's not often that you get a money-back guarantee for anything council does, but we have in this case, and I'm very pleased to be part of this, that we can return some of those funds back to the residents of Yarrambat and Eltham.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is Lorimer Road, Wattle Glen, proposed special charge scheme, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to put up an alternate motion rather than what's in the agenda, and that is that Council defers the special charge scheme for Lorimer Road, Wattle Glen item to the 12th of December 23 Council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
Now, I'm sure there's lots of people from Wattle Glen watching this at home, and I just want to assure them that please don't worry. We actually have two schemes in Wattle Glen. One's the entire length of Lorimer Road and the other one was a short one. This relates to the short one. The long one hasn't got up, but in between the report being written and tonight, we've had somebody kick it over the line to 60%, which means it will now go forward, but it has to go through governance and it will come to the December council meeting. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, happy to support this request for a special charge scheme, Lorimer Road. Lorimer Road is a busy road. There's trucks that traffic it. It's a lot of use. It is a cost to council to keep grading that road and try to keep that road safe. The special charge scheme basically, to council's benefit, really puts that cost burden onto the property owners if they're comfortable with it. And to proceed with the scheme, we need a 60%. When the report was written, there wasn't a 60%. To proceed with the partial scheme, there was less than that. There was 57%. So we had 13 in favour of constructing part of the road. We had 10 against it. So the 13 in favour was a 57% in favour. The 10 against it was 43. We've since been told, as Councillor Egan said, that somebody's changed their mind. So we now have 14 in favour as far as we know. That's brought that up to 60%, the threshold. So when this comes back to council meeting in December in a month's time, we expect to see a report that will actually recommend that we proceed with a special charge scheme for part of Lorimer Road. And the part that I envisage we're talking about is, as shown in the report, and it's basically the from 29 Lorimer Road back towards Reynolds Road. Yeah, so the Reynolds Road end, most of it actually, if you look at it on the map, just the curvy bit towards Kangaroo Grand will remain unsealed because those residents are not prepared to pay, which is fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Which moves us on to Charber Lane St Andrews proposed special charge scheme. And I'll look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to put up a recommendation that Council 1 abandons further investigations into a special charge scheme for Charber Lane St Andrews. 2 places any further investigations into a special charge scheme for Charber Lane on a 3-year moratorium. 3 notifies affected property owners accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan?
I'll just say a little bit. It's really the opposite of my last one. We haven't got 60% in this case, and the 3 moratorium means it can't be revisited for a minimum of that time. I'll leave the rest up to the Mayor, as this is his ward.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins?
I might just go through the numbers because I love numbers. There's 14 properties in Charber Lane. The initial petition and the initial questionnaire result, 10 out of the 14 properties supported the special charge, so 71%. Then when they got the quote, they voted on it again, and that 10 became 4, right? So there was 4 in favour, 10 against, meaning that we had 29% in favour once they saw the numbers, and so it's not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? Just to speak on that briefly, that one sits in my ward. St Andrews is a very special place, but of course they do have a lot of unsealed roads. Some people hate living on an unsealed road. Other people love living on an unsealed road. But the other thing that can come in as a factor is cost, because it can be quite expensive to foot the bill for a special charge scheme. And so when we see only 4 out of the 14 property owners willing to pay to have the road sealed, I think it sends us quite a strong message that that is not a special charge scheme that residents necessarily want us to proceed with. And so we will be abandoning that one and placing that on a moratorium for 3 years, although given the numbers, I think 3 years might be a very short time for the numbers to turn around drastically enough for that to get up, but that remains to be seen. All right, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the Victorian Kangaroo Harvesting Program, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a slightly amended motion, which I'm really pleased with, that Council 1 notes the recent release of the Kangaroo Harvesting Management Plan, or the KHMP, 2024 to 2028, and that for a period of 1 January 2025 to 31 December 2028, Nillumbik is included in the exclusion zone, so no harvesting authority to control wildlife system only. And 2, supports the inclusion of Nillumbik from the Victorian Harvesting Program from 1 January 2025 and requests removal from the program from 1 January 2024. 3, advocates for improvements that would make the Victorian Kangaroo Harvesting Program more accountable, including that A, harvesters be required to more transparently confirm that kangaroos are damaging buildings, pasture, crop and other property, threatening human safety or impacting on biodiversity before commencing work at a new property. A second aerial transact be flown to improve confidence in local kangaroo abundance counts. Data be collected and made publicly available to the local government area level on the number of kangaroos that are removed annually via the Kangaroo Harvesting Program. D, consideration be given as to how hunters can be required and or incentivised to not overly focus on removing the largest kangaroos. E, periodic shooting competency tests be required to be undertaken by harvesters to ensure that they have the skills to shoot accurately. F, additional compliance audits of Kangaroo Harvest Program harvesters operating Nillumbik be undertaken and reported on. And G, the state government provide further investment into monitoring native vegetation, kangaroo habitat condition to better understand where kangaroo control for biodiversity purposes is most warranted or conversely not warranted. I think that's all. It's a very long motion. Thank you.
I'm happy to second
Thank
that for
you,
you,
Councillor
Councillor
Eyre.
Eyre.
And thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. So I might just do a little recap, and some of that will actually come from the public question time. So in September, I put forward a notice of motion that Council notes community concern regarding the cruelty involved in the kangaroo harvesting program run by the state government, and requests that officers brief Council on the program and potential advocacy to state government in October 2023. Since then, councillors have had a briefing, and that was in October, and formally received petition in 2 parts containing close to 14,000 signatures, calling on the state government to remove Nillumbik from the kangaroo harvesting program. Now, that's just a massive undertaking, so thank you to everyone for that. Council, in accordance with the notice of motion, we were briefed, and so this is where we come back to now. So this is closing the loop, I guess. Doesn't mean that we're finished, but it's closing the loop to make sure the community understand where Council's at with this. So with the motion, it's actually saying that, and I can't see it because it's the amended motion. Just one moment, my laptop's gone off. Oh, thank you. So what the additional points is saying is that we welcome the removal of Nillumbik from the exclusion zone, but we also would like Nillumbik to be removed as of 1st of January 2024. So not waiting a year for Nillumbik to be removed, but to actually start once this program is finished. In addition to that, we have advocacy points, asking for compliance, for data to be collected, consideration on how hunters can and cannot do things, including safety. It's a great outcome for Nillumbik, and thank you to all the community who have made contact, phone calls, emails. This is where we're at, but we will not finish there because we have the advocacy to continue with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Duffy?
Just briefly, that we live in the Green Wedge, and that's something that we're all very proud of here in Nillumbik. We're having a biodiversity strategy that we're investing time and money into, and the kangaroos are very much part of our biodiversity. They're animals that we love. There's much joy from our local school kids when there's a kangaroo on an oval opposite, the Eltham North Primary School recently. So I do support this, and it's about being kind to animals. It's not meant to sound twee, but it's about, we are, the type of people that we are can be judged by how we treat people in the community, how we treat animals, and how we treat our environment. So, this is about trying to do the right thing and encouraging the state government to let our wildlife be free to roam here in Nillumbik. I think we'd like to see much more support to get rid of pests like deer and animals like that than our kangaroo at the moment. So I'm happy to support your motion, Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the motion as well. Congratulations, Councillor Eyre. And as she said, she first brought the notice of motion on 26th of September 23, and I think Councillor Amcharan probably would have if he wasn't sitting in the chair as mayor. That was really what first started discussion. I think Councillor Eyre was considering going along with what the community was saying they wanted, which was for council to advocate strongly for the removal of Nillumbik from the program. I personally wanted to know more. I wanted officers to go away and do some work, find out more about this program. What we've ended up with now is a position, I think, where council will advocate for the removal of the program outright from the 1st of January next year. But also, just as importantly, beyond that, it's a statewide program. So it's a Victorian program. It's going to continue, even though Nillumbik is going to be excluded from it at the moment from the start of 25. We've also got an advocacy position to sort of say, well, not only do we want to be removed from the program for next year, which answers to what the petition has requested for, and I think need to thank Lisa Schnukel and Leo Malley, who here tonight have done a lot of work in this regard, and the many community advocates out there. But it goes further than council requesting that Nillumbik be removed from the program. It also hopes to improve the program for the rest of the state. So that's really what our advocacy program is about. Remove us from straight away, as soon as possible. That's what we want. We want out. But for the rest of the state, who are staying in many parts of the state that are in, we've learned as a council that this program is full of holes, and it's cruel. It's not fair on the kangaroos. There needs to be a lot more rigour around the whole program, and that's what dot point 3 from A to G talks to. So I think it's a good result, and it's council listening to the residents, and it's hard not to listen to 14,000 people who sign a petition. Thank you, in Nillumbik.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? Look, I'll speak to that one as well, because this is really is an important issue to me, and I'd like to start by congratulating members of our community who have worked so hard for this outcome. They have advocated to council, they have advocated to the state government, and here now finally the state government have actually listened, and I do think that the pressure from the community has had a remarkable effect on them in this case, and for them to listen and to say yes, we should exclude Nillumbik. that is an incredible outcome. So I think the amount of work that would have been put into that by so many different people cannot be understated. It's a huge community push, a huge community effort, and everybody who was involved should be incredibly proud. The program is cruel. There may be some valid arguments why kangaroo numbers need to be controlled, but this particular method of control is not, it is cruel, and it is not a good way of controlling a population. When you have harvesters who want to pick off a big, healthy kangaroo because there's a lot more meat in it, well, you're killing off the healthier ones, and the less healthy, smaller ones will survive and breed, and you're breeding a less healthy population. And that's the big issue with commercial programs, amongst many other things, the cruelty included. So what we're doing here is we are advocating for Nillumbik to be removed from the program. We support the proposal in the draft to exclude us from the start of January 2025, but we're also requesting that that be brought forward starting at the beginning of next year. It would be wonderful if the state government takes that on board, but that is yet to be seen. But what we're also doing, and I think it's been said before, about acknowledging that the program is going to continue across the state. We haven't changed that. It doesn't look like we'll be able to change that. But we do need to make some improvements to it. If we can't get rid of it altogether, and I know many people would like to see that happen, well, we can at least see improvements. And so that's what point 3 is about. It's not a nice thought to think kangaroos will still be getting shot, but when it's a choice between shooting them the way that we're doing it versus actually advocating for some really positive improvements that will reduce the harm, well, I'll go for that compromise any day, because we want to reduce the harm that's done to kangaroos and the environment. But I am very grateful to be able to sit here today and say that our kangaroos are proposed to be safe. They are proposing to remove us from the program, and that's a really fantastic outcome, and just congratulations again to everybody who's been involved in making that happen. All right, I will put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. It is a wonderful outcome. I'll move us on. The next item is the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation under the Planning and Environment Act. And I will look for a motion. Councillor Duffy.
I'm happy to move that motion. The motion is that Council, in the exercise of the powers conferred... Do you want me to read the motion now? Sorry, I just had a brain fade there. As per the papers. Yeah, as per the papers. So that Council exercises the powers conferred by the relevant section of the Planning and Environment Act of 1987 to resolve that Nillumbik Shire staff are referred to in the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation. I'm messing up my words here. I'm kind of a little bit blurry in my glasses. I can't quite read it. So I'll just say as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. That's all good. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you. This is very procedural. Currently, we do have this authorisation, this instrument in place. There are a number of staff who have the powers to be able to go onto properties to exercise the powers under the legislation, under Council's local laws. There's a long list of names of council officers that are attached to the agenda. Essentially, there are only 2 extra names that are being added to this report as per the arrangement that's already in place. So this is very much a standard instrument to enable council officers to do their job, to protect the community and to work with the community on planning matters and other things as such. So, you know, when council officers go out to the community, they do that with good intention, and this enables them to do their role. So that's all I'd like to say about it. So thank you to the officers who do their work with the community, and thank you to the community for receiving them onto their property to enable them to do the work that they do.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Which moves us on to the tender report for the supply and delivery of a grader. And I will look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
I'll move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins.
Happy to
Councillor
second
Payne, seconding. Thank you. Councillor Perkins?
Really, this is a replacement for an aged grader. We have 3 grader operators in Nillumbik and one very, very busy grader. Does a lot of work. There's lots of unsealed roads. That's reached the end of its useful life and needs to be replaced. So that's what this is about. There's been a procurement process. We've got the best deal for council, and we'll congratulate the successful tenderer shortly, hopefully, but if the motion gets support.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Payne? Any other councillors? Councillor Egan?
Yes, having the largest we can fight over this rural ward, I think I've got 400 square kilometres, which includes a lot of unsealed roads, so I'm more than happy to support this. We've got another lovely new machine in the Shire, and I've had so many residents call and say how wonderful their gutters are, so I'm really looking forward to Vince coming forward with a tender for that one. Just putting it out there, Vince.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre?
Yeah, previously to moving to Nillumbik, I lived on a dirt road with my family, and it was constantly filled with potholes and different things. So having a grader that can come in and do that will not only save on the dust, but also damage to cars and things like that. So I'm fully in support of this.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item...
We'll name the tenderer.
Oh, and we will name the tenderer.
So the tender amount submitted was for RDO Equipment Proprietary Limited, and the sum was $710,314. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. The next item is the informal meetings of councillors' records, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre?
I think I was going to move that.
You were actually.
Yes.
I jumped ahead.
All right, I'll allow Councillor Perkins to move that one.
We have a dress rehearsal, and this is my turn. I move that Council, in accordance with item 20 of Council's Governance Rule Meeting Procedures, that we receive the informal meetings of Council's record as per attachment 1 for the meetings held.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins.
I'll second that for you, Councillor Perkins.
You jumped ahead. I was supposed to do that.
Councillor Duffy, thank you. It is a very competitive to second this one. It's probably the most exciting one of the night. Councillor Perkins?
This report basically just talks to the number of informal meetings that councillors have attended, who's been present, who's been an apology, or hasn't attended for other reasons. So the record is in the papers. There's a fair bit the council does apart from attend council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Duffy?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to speak in favour of the item. This report does set out the informal meetings of councillors, as Councillor Perkins said, reported from the 24th of October to the 28th of November, so today. For the past 2 months, I've been on a formal leave of absence from the duties and functions of a councillor to address some personal matters and matters related to my role as a councillor. My attendance is noted as an apology in the meetings of this report, and I want to apologise to the residents of Edendale for not being able to fully represent you during this time. To the residents of Edendale Ward and all in Nillumbik, I'm back on deck as of today and looking forward to continuing to represent and serve you. May I extend a sincere thanks to the many people who've reached out to offer me support, and especially those who have come to the council chamber tonight, including members of my family, members of the Australian Local Government Women's Association Executive of Victoria, and friends from the community.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. That's the end of the officers' reports. So we have an item to be tabled. So in accordance with section 147, subsection 4 of the Local Government Act 2020, the Arbiter's decision and statement of reasons on the matter of an application by Councillor Ben Ramcharan concerning Councillor Natalie Duffy, IAP 12 be tabled and the decision recorded in the minutes of the council meeting. And also just noting that, as directed by the arbiter, a written apology has been received by Councillor Duffy, so thank you for that. And that has been delivered to the person involved, which concludes the matter. Moving on, we do have 2 notices of motion. And so the first notice of motion tonight relates to CFA signage, and I will look for a mover. I will look for a mover for the notice of motion.
Happy to move that.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Payne, were you happy to... We did discuss some alternate wording.
My apologies.
Councillor Egan?
I thought we were doing the other one first.
Right.
Happy to hand over to Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan, you had a slight wording change to suggest?
Yes. I'd like to first...
Seek leave.
I've lost my train of thought as well. Yeah, I'd like to seek leave so that we can amend the notice of motion, please.
Happy to second that.
And the motion is... Yeah, all we want to do is change one word. So instead of CFA stations, it would say CFA facilities. I'm really lost it.
I believe we just vote on this. We don't need to discuss. Is that right? All right. We'll go straight to a vote on the procedural motion. Those in favour? And that's just to amend the motion. So thank you. That is carried unanimously. And so now we will actually go to the motion itself, which is on the screen. And I'll look for a mover for this one. Councillor Egan.
Right, now I've got my head together. I'd just like to put up a motion that Council 1 notes that a number of CFA facilities in Nillumbik are zoned RCZ and that signage restrictions under this zone are not compatible with certain types of signage that is often displayed at CFA facilities. And 2, requests a briefing from officers regarding a potential planning scheme amendment to facilitate signage at these sites.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
Thank you. This relates to particular CFA stations and where they're actually being built. So because of the planning scheme, you can't put up particular signs, but CFA in the fire season needs to put up particular types of signs. So this is really a bureaucratic motion to get around the necessity for CFA facilities, because we do have more than CFA stations in Nillumbik, to be able to put up these signages. So it's as simple as that.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Egan. Happy to support this. Yeah, basically what it goes to is most CFA brigades, well, all CFA brigades now being totally volunteer brigades, look to attract more volunteers. They do that by way of advertising, and they'll put an advertising sign generally at the front of their station, prompting people from the local community to join them, in an operational or non-operational role, but basically helping to protect the community from bushfire and every other emergency that we face here in Victoria. Unfortunately for a station like Kangaroo Ground, it's currently located on Rural Conservation Zone land, and they can apply for a planning permit to put advertising signage on that property, but they'll never get a permit because it's prohibited under the zone, right? So what we need to do is basically do a planning scheme amendment that allows a CFA station on Rural Conservation Zone land to advertise for volunteers. To do that, we've got to pursue a planning scheme amendment. So there's a bit of work here to be done, basically changing the zone on which some of these CFA stations sit, so change the land use zone. And just when we talked about it in the pre-meet or the dress rehearsal before, it was identified that Kangaroo Ground has also got a level 3 instant control centre just a bit further down the road, a bit closer towards Eltham. That also sits on Rural Conservation Zone land, so we changed the wording from CFA stations to CFA facilities to allow that planning scheme amendment to cover the Kangaroo Ground level 3 ICC and any other CFA station or facility that is on Rural Conservation Zone land within Nillumbik. So that's the intent of it. It's a good motion, and I'd like to thank the Mayor for bringing it forward, and I'm sure it'll get strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? Just to speak to that one as well, my motion. So we're so lucky to have the Rural Conservation Zone here in Nillumbik. It's just a fantastic protection for so much of what we love about where we live. In my opinion, it's not appropriate to have CFA stations zoned rural conservation. It's a public use, it should be public use zone, and that is the zone that's typically applied to areas of public use. But we do have a number of CFA stations that have been zoned rural conservation by some sort of anomaly, and it can create some strange planning complexities when those CFAs actually want to do things. So what this motion is about is just recognising that increasingly CFA like to display community information signage. So it's not just the fire danger rating signs, it's about signs that that provide useful information to the community throughout fire season and throughout the rest of the year. They're modest, they're not all that bright, and they can be really useful to the community. So as much as we want to have as much rural conservation zone as we can and have it be as strong as possible, there are certainly some exceptions to that rule. And when we look at CFA stations and the people that keep us safe, this, I think, is a very worthwhile motion. This is not the end, it is just the beginning of a very, very long process. We will need to get a lot of information from officers and consider how to proceed. Planning scheme amendments are long and complex and expensive, and so I'm not expecting this matter to be resolved anytime soon, but I'm really pleased to be taking this first step in the process so that we can better support our CFAs, providing and sharing important information to our communities. So thank you to the councillors who are supporting the motion. I think it'll be a really great outcome for our community. And with that, I will put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the placement of council's honour roll boards, which has been submitted by Councillor Perkins, and I'll give Councillor Perkins an opportunity to move that.
Thank you. I'll move that council requests officers to review the placement of council's honour roll boards, with the objective of relocating them to the council chamber to appropriately acknowledge and celebrate the extensive history of the Shire, encompassing both Diamond Valley and Eltham Council history. Number 2, requests officers to investigate and work with Banyule City Council to aid in the location and recovery of the Diamond Valley Shire President's ceremonial ribbon and medallion.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Eyre. Councillor Perkins.
So like all places, there's a bit of history. There's a bit of history to this place. There's a bit of history to Nillumbik. Nillumbik's only been around since 1994 when Canada amalgamated nearly 200 councils and brought it down to 79. So prior to 1994, there was the Shire of Diamond Valley, and the Shire of Diamond Valley, this is their council chamber. From 1964 to 1994, that's when the Shire of Diamond Valley existed. Before that, this part of Nillumbik, which was part of Shire of Diamond Valley, was covered by the City of Heidelberg, and the City of Heidelberg went back to 1840. We also have Eltham. Eltham's a very important part of, was a very important part, or the Shire of Eltham anyway, was a very important part of this area before the Shire of Nillumbik. So prior to 1994, the Shire of Eltham existed from 1856 to 1994. You know, it was a lot bigger then. It went up to Healesville, I understand. But effectively what we have in this building is some honour boards that recognise and, you know, in some ways celebrate, or at least commemorate the former councillors and Shire presidents of the former Shire of Diamond Valley and the former Shire of Eltham. So they're currently down the hallway, down there. If you sort of go down the stairs towards the toilets, you turn left or right, you have the toilets. If you go directly opposite, you'll see the honour boards basically proudly displayed outside the toilets. I don't think it's a good spot, you know. I think no, probably never has been. So I think we can recognise that, you know, we're not the only
important stakeholders in local government in this part of the world. There was also the Shire of Eltham, Shire Darwin Valley. We've actually got a former Shire of Eltham councillor in the room, Jim Connor. And Jim Connor's very across local history. He's the president also of Eltham Historical Society. And I know officers and myself often speak to people like Jim, people who have been around a long while and know a lot of the history. So I think it's appropriate that we bring the honour boards into this room, we display them in the council chamber, we show the history of Nillumbik Shire Council, which is shown there, but also go back that little bit further before amalgamation and display what we have in terms of the Eltham and the former Diamond Valley honour boards. I think that shows the people who have served this community as councillors some due respect and not be in what I call lavatory laneway, bring them into the council chamber. The other thing I'd like to do is see if we can find the Diamond Valley Shire President's ceremonial ribbon. So we know that the former Shire of Eltham had some chains, some ceremonial chains, and we actually have those in our art collection. The chains were produced by Matcham Skipper, I think, at Montsalvat. So they're closely guarded. They're a fantastic historical item. The other side of the coin is there was an equivalent for the Shire of Diamond Valley, and that's the President's ceremonial ribbon and medallion. We don't know where it is. We've asked Banyule. We thought that Banyule might have it. They can't seem to locate it, so we're sort of actively trying to search and find out where this ceremonial ribbon and medallion might be. Jim's been looking for us. Jim's provided as a photo of it, or one of the Shire presidents wearing that ceremonial ribbon and medallion, so we've got a bit of a sense of what it looks like, but initial inquiries to Banyule suggest that it's not in their art collection and they don't have it. So we're going to sort of hopefully put a bit of a search out and see if we can locate that. It would be good for at least some period of time to display both of them in the chamber. If somebody's got it and we can borrow it, it might end up at some historical society. I think if somebody's got it in their bottom drawer somewhere, we might, by advertising the fact that it's lost or gone missing, it might encourage somebody to get it to either council or a local historical society, and then we might be able to display it. But that's the intent of what we're trying to do. We will lose some room for some artworks, perhaps, but I think the history of this place is more important. We might be able to do both. There might be still some room to do both, but it's really, the motion is just to request officers to review that concept of bringing the history back into the chamber and showing respect to former councillors, not just of Nillumbik, but also of Diamond Valley and Eltham. So I hope the motion gets support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Eyre?
Thank you. I think it's wonderful to be able to acknowledge all those who came before us and all their contribution to Nillumbik, which is our community. So by having them in a more prominent position, I think we will be able to do that. Thank you for putting forward this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy?
I'm just going to go there. I do support the motion. I'm happy to support it. I do appreciate history. But, there are a lot of people in our community who would be quite happy that councillors are located close to the toilets. I don't want to say that in a, mean-spirited way. It's just that, what happens at council doesn't really affect the daily lives of a lot of people. They don't really care. We don't have a local paper to expose the things that happen with council, good and bad. So I think, I'm very happy to support the motion. I do believe in history. There are lots of other things that we could be doing as well. Like when it comes to looking at history, I think of the Barrack Bushland signs that are almost 25 years old down at Eltham, and the state of those signs. I'd love to see those get fixed up, but that's something for another day that's been pursued for quite a long time. This is not going to cost a lot of money just to move the boards from that wall to this wall, so I'm very happy to support it, Peter, and I think it does show respect to the people who've been councillors and the time and effort that they've dedicated when this role does take a lot of time, does take a lot of effort when you do it properly, and the remuneration is very insignificant in comparison to the work that you do. So I'm happy to support your motion.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. There are no delegates' reports, no supplementary or urgent business, no confidential reports, And so I will close the meeting at 8:20. Thank you, everybody.